Gremlins, and welcome to another video lesson. We're in a different setting today. I'm trying to limit how much I go to the school, and so we're gonna do some of these lessons from my place. How fun. Hi, do you want to come say hi? My cat says hi. Please don't drink my coffee. I hope you guys are finding ways to keep yourself entertained during this time. Yesterday, I went to Antelope Island to practice my social distancing skills with the buffalo. That was fun. Okay, before we get started, a quick shout out to everybody who has been getting in their work. You guys are so awesome. And here is a quick update on the attendance bracket. But anyway, let's get started. Today we are continuing talking about the Industrial Revolution. We are going to be looking at the human side of the Industrial Revolution. It is not very pretty. Things that happened because of the Industrial Revolution. 1. Cities started to explode. No, not like physically exploded. Their population started to explode because factories were usually located near cities, and so a ton of people were moving into the cities to go work in the factories. The other thing that happened was there was a lot of immigration to America because there were more job opportunities. So what we are doing today is you're kind of going to have like a little audiobook experience. You're going to listen to entries from this Dear America book. The book is So Far From Home, The Diary of Mary Driscoll, an Irish mill girl. Dear America books, if you don't know, are fiction. They're written from the point of view of kids who are your age who went through experiences at different points in American history. I was actually like obsessed with these books as a kid. So in this case, this diary is written from the point of view of Mary, a 14-year-old girl who immigrates to America to go work in some textile mills. She immigrated from Ireland. So during this time period, a lot of Irish people were coming to America because of the Great Famine. So if you don't know what the Great Famine was, in the 1800s there was a really bad potato blight back in Ireland, and that led to a period of mass starvation and disease that killed over 1 million Irish. And then 1 million more people actually immigrated away from Ireland to actually try and make a better life for themselves. Real quick, we're going to listen to a quick entry from Mary's diary that describes what the Great Famine was like, and then we'll be back.
Saturday, April 3rd, 1847, Skibbereen, County Cork, Ireland. 'Tis best I go, we are down to nothing. Once the potato provided us with all we needed, now we are always hungry. 'Twas 2 years ago, I will never forget, when the fog came in and I heard the dogs. They could smell the foul odor. 'Twas warning us, they were, howling until the morning light. At first Dad was thinking soot had fallen on the potato crop, but the blackness spread to the dark green leaves and the purple blossoms. The leaves crumbled to ashes at his touch. When he dug into the ground, he discovered only a slimy mass of rotten potatoes. Fear in his eyes there was. Now there's not a loaf of bread in all Skibbereen. We line up for soup, but 'tis of poor quality and leaves us hungry just the same. Our neighbors kill their animals to last another day. We have sold our furniture so we could have money for food. Dad talks of help coming from England, but Ma says that is foolishness. The English care nothing about the Irish. You can't get blood from a turnip, she says. I suspect she is right. The roads are littered with lifeless souls wandering about. They look more like walking ghosts than flesh and blood. One funeral follows another. Fathers bury their daughters, wives their husbands, all without a tear being shed. Now there is only an eerie silence. No cackling chickens disturb the morning silence. No dogs bark in the night, for they are either dead or too weak to cry out. My hand is trembling as I write. I sleep little and wake often, soaked in a cold sweat. The world is coming apart at the seams. May God have mercy on our souls.
After listening to that, you can probably understand why a ton of people wanted to leave Ireland at the time. And they heard that there was work in the United States, so that seemed like a good place to go. Okay, so Mary does come over to the United States. She has an awful boat ride over where she sees multiple people die. And then she comes to America to live with her Aunt Nora and her sister Kate. So she goes to Lowell, Massachusetts, which is a little bit outside of Boston, and Lowell was actually the birthplace of the American Industrial Revolution. Lowell was famous for their textile mills, so they were making clothes there. They employed a lot of teenage girls, and they employed a lot of children. This was perfectly legal back then, as weird as it is, and it was very common. Families needed money, and if kids and teenagers could work, then who cared about school? You were gonna go work in the factory. We're gonna use Mary's diary to see the human side of the Industrial Revolution. So the mills were not safe, and they did not treat their workers very well. Quick disclaimer, some of the descriptions in this book are kind of intense, but they're not too graphic. So the next few minutes are going to be entries of her diary that are going to explain what life was like in the mills. You can do something else as you listen to these. I honestly don't care. You don't need to be staring at the screen. That's fine. But as you listen, pay attention to what life was like for Mary and the other girls who were working in the mills.
Friday, July 9th, 1847, Lowell, Massachusetts. Mrs. Abbott's house, where Kate works, is so near the mills we were able to walk there. On the way, Kate reminded me to be polite and respectful. I told her I hoped I would be acceptable, which caused her to laugh. She said I should not concern myself with that. The Yankee girls are leaving faster than they are coming, she said. Mr. Abbott is eager to replace them with as many Irish girls as he can because the Irish won't complain about things the way the Yankee girls do. What things? I wondered, but spoke not a word. The bright red brick building is so tall it seems to reach the sky. I never dreamed earthly hands could make anything that big. It looked to me like all the people in Ireland could fit inside. 'Twas like a fortress. There were smokestacks blowing their blackness heavenward and darkening the sky. I felt cold although the day was warm. A shudder rippled through my body. There is nothing to be afraid of, I told myself. What could be worse than what I had already seen back in Ireland? I had to go through those gates. The guard led us to see Mr. Fowler. He is the oddest-looking man. Bald as a crow, he is. The sunlight from the window above fell on his hairless head, causing it to glow. Kate told him that I was Mary Driscoll, the girl Mr. Abbott mentioned. I think she was ashamed to say I was her sister. Mr. Fowler looked at me like that doctor did in Boston Harbor. I wonder, does everyone in America look at you this way? Could I write my name? He asked. I told him I could. He handed me a paper, showed me where to sign, which I did without reading what it said. I was too afraid. I start Monday, in spinning room number 3. Monday, July 12th, 1847. Spinning room number 3 takes up the whole floor. There are long rows of machines lined up, one next to the other as far as the eye can see. There are girls tending to them up and down the aisles. I cannot say how many machines there are, but there must be hundreds. Of that I am certain. Each was making the most awful hissing and whizzing sounds. This devilish noise came rushing down all around me like an endless waterfall. The sound was so great that the floor beneath my feet trembled. I could feel the thunderous sound come up my legs. I feared I would cry out and run from the room just to be rid of it. God help me. Mr. Fowler said that one of the girls would teach me my tasks. 'Twas nearly impossible to hear what he was saying. He had to holler right into my ear. He pulls on his red mustache and mops his damp brow with a handkerchief while he talks. He warned me not to daydream. 'Tis important to pay strict attention at all times, and not to hold up the girls. Tuesday, August 24th, 1847. One of the girls in the weaving room was hurt today. God help her, a shuttle flew off the loom and hit her above the eye. I did not see her, but Laura says she was hurt badly. Knowing how fast those shuttles fly, 'twasn't a surprise to me. Laura works in the weaving room. She has been here 3 years. She says the weaving room is even worse than the spinning room. 'Tis hotter and the noise is greater. 'Tis always hot in the mills. Today 2 girls fainted before the noon bell. Laura says the corporation doesn't want the thread to become brittle and break. I asked if they worried that we might become brittle and break. Laura said the corporations won't allow water buckets in the rooms. They think we'll take too much time drinking water. Imagine. I am thirsty all the time now because my throat is so sore. 'Tis hard to breathe, and the lint flies everywhere. I stand on the staircase just to get some air. My dress always soaks through. So do the other girls. Some tuck handkerchiefs in their sleeves, but I don't. 'Tisn't a help. They just become soaked too. Thursday, September 2nd, 1847. Mr. Fowler dismissed one of the girls. She has not been at work for the past 2 days. Laura says Mr. Fowler drives us so hard because of the premium the corporation pays him. The more work he gets out of us, the more money he makes. My head aches terribly, but I am sure to come to the mills just the same. Lord knows I am used to hard work, but doing the same thing over and over is tiring. Aunt Nora placed a cold cloth on my forehead, which stopped the throbbing, but only for a while. Friday, September 3rd, 1847. One of the girls was caught reading her Bible instead of tending her machine. Took the heavy end of the stick, she did. Mr. Fowler was so angry, I thought his eyes would pop right out of his head. He took her Bible and threw it into his desk. Reading is not allowed in the spinning room. Some of the Yankee girls bring little clippings of poetry and favorite hymns. They paste them on the sides of the window near the geraniums and glance at them from time to time. Mr. Fowler watched me all afternoon. No matter where he was in the room, I could feel his eyes following my every move. Monday, September 6, 1847. One of the wee boys who cleans the machines got his finger caught today. It was snapped right off. Their hands are small enough to get into the hard-to-reach places, but they are in great danger because of this. The lad was near me when it happened. As soon as I heard him cry out, I rushed over and picked him up in my arms. Mr. Fowler was there in a flash and grabbed the boy from me. He told me to return at once to my machine. I would have liked to stay with the boy, but Mr. Fowler looked at me with those dull gray eyes of his. He's all eyes and no sight, that one. I said a prayer for the boy, but there is little I can do that will change anything. Wednesday, September 8th, 1847. I asked Annie why the Yankee girls don't like the Irish. She said they blame us for what happened at the mills. They say the factory work was better before there were so many Irish. There was time to sit and rest. Now the corporation doesn't care about the girls the way they once did. There are enough Irish girls looking for work that they don't have to. Why the Irish are to blame for all of this, I wasn't understanding. Surely we aren't the reason the windows are nailed shut, or why the rooms are always hot and so filled with dirt you can hardly breathe. Is it our fault that the days are long? Wouldn't we prefer a 10-hour day too? But I was afraid to say any of that. The words were in my head clear enough, but I wasn't sure they would come out that way. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. Still, I decided to ask one question that would not wait. What about you? You talk to me and I'm Irish. You're different, Annie said. You're not like the rest. Friday, September 24th, 1847. Ruth Smith walked out today. Some of her bobbins began falling on the floor, making quite a clatter. She just stood there looking at them with that dreamy look in her eye, watched them fall like they weren't even hers. Then she ran out of the spinning room without an if you don't mind to anyone. I went back with Annie just as soon as the 7 o'clock bell rang. Ruth was packing when we arrived. Annie tried to convince her to stay, but she wasn't hearing any of it. Talking away she was while she packed. Annie and I sat on the bed and listened. 'Twas all we could do. I don't have eyes on the back of my head. I can't tend that many machines without going mad. I need fresh air. I am going home when there are no bells, bells, bells. Bells that tell you when you can open your eyes and when you can close them. When you can sleep and when you can... I don't know if I'll ever get those bells out of my head. Thanks be to the Lord, Annie was able to get her to wait till tomorrow. Then Annie will take her to the stagecoach. I have never seen Annie this upset. Usually she runs as deep as the ocean. Downstairs as I was leaving, she said 'twas a shame, and Ruth is a fine girl. She is that. On the way home I thought about the look in Ruth's eyes. I have been here too long, she said. I hope I'm not here too long. Monday, September 27th, 1847. Another payday. Aunt Nora and I counted the money we have. Like a hive hoards honey, we lay away money for Mom and Dad. Friday, October 1st, 1847. Clarissa Burrow's beautiful long black hair was caught in her machine, and her scalp was pulled off. Glory of God, 'twas a frightful spectacle. Her howls of pain were loud enough to be heard above the roar of the machines. It took forever to stop them. By the time Mr. Fowler cut off her hair and pulled her away, 'twas too late. There was utter silence. Mr. Fowler wasted no time. He was more concerned that the machines were down than the fate of the girl. As soon as her limp body was removed from the room, he pulled the cord and ordered everyone back to work. Ruth had warned Clarissa not to wear her hair that way. She showed her how to fix it up so it wouldn't get caught, because this has happened before. Ruth warned her how dangerous it was, but Clarissa would not listen. She insisted on leaving her hair loose because she was so proud of how long and shiny it was. But look where her pride has gotten her now. I have not slept since this has happened. Tuesday, October 5th, 1847. Laura Austin fears her name is on the list because she was handing out a labor newspaper. There is a list of girls who the corporation thinks are troublemakers. If you are dismissed, they can send out the list to other mills in the area. That way you can't find work and cause more trouble. Laura was one of the girls in the turnout last year when they were striking for a 10-hour day. They got more time for their meals, but was all. Laura said they all signed the petition, but it came to nothing. The corporation won, Laura said, just like it always does. When Laura first came to Lowell, 6 years ago, the girls stood by one another. Then, she said, no girls tended more than 2 looms. There was time to sit and rest. Now, she says, some girls tend 4 or 5 machines. The corporations speed up the machines and slow down the clock so we work longer and get paid less. 'Twould be nice to work only 10 hours. I can only imagine. Still, if truth be told, I am glad not to have to sign anything. For myself, I would sign. I have nothing to fear. But I have Mom and Dad to think about. When I have enough money for their passage, when they are here beside me, then I can think of such things, but not now. That is not what I came to America for. Friday, October 8th, 1847. Mom and Dad will not be coming. Something was terribly wrong. I just knew it. Aunt Nora is always so cheerful, humming a tune more likely than not, but she was sitting at the table, quiet, resting her head in one hand and holding a letter in the other. When she looked up, I could see that she had been crying. 'Twas like the light had left her eyes. She didn't want me to read the letter. She said there was no need. 'Twas from Father Mullaney. He said little, only what was needed. That they are gone. I feel lost. I should never have left Ireland. Never.
Okay, so that's all you have to listen to. If you're curious how this ends, she does not die in the factories. She dies in a cholera epidemic, so... Okay, so now you just have to go do a quick little writing assignment where you kind of note some of the things that Mary and the other mill workers went through. Make sure you submit that when you're done. I will see you guys tomorrow for another video lesson.